you have not become a patron of the Geocache Talk Network, what are you waiting for? Patron levels start as low as a Bison Tube level at $3 a month. To sign up is easy. Simply go to the Geocache Talk website and click on the Become a Patron button, or go to patreon.com/Geocache Talk. Patrons now get the famous Blackout coin, invites to special events, and other really great items throughout the year. Become a patron today. Have you subscribed to FTF Magazine yet? FTF Magazine is the #1 geocaching magazine available. It is a quarterly magazine that you can be part of. Submit your geocaching milestones and adventures to be published. FTF Magazine is also interactive with puzzles to solve and the hunt to find Spartacus. If you can solve the puzzle or find Spartacus, then you will be entered in to win a special pack tag. Every new subscription, you will receive a special swag pack. Subscribing is easy. Just visit FTF's website, ftfgeo.com. Don't miss out and subscribe today.
Welcome to Deep Dive, where we dive deep into geocaching topics. Each episode features in-depth discussions and aims to provide a deeper understanding and appreciation of geocaching and to inspire listeners to explore new aspects of our great sport. And I welcome along tonight for my guests, I've got Pizza Ninja.
Hello, Gary. How are you doing?
I am good, sir. And back in Florida.
Back in Florida.
The Memphis Mafia. So I think all of us are back home. I think I beat all you guys because I'm only 6 hours away, but Jesse stayed an extra couple days, if that's what I remember.
Yep. Hang out with family.
Yep. So right off the top of the show, we have a major announcement. So let me bring up the really big major announcement one first. So let me do that. Bringing in a couple guests for tonight for the announcement. There's Simmels123. Hello, sir. You're on mute. Oh, no, you're not. There you are. Good to see you, my friend.
It's been so long.
Yeah, long time no see, buddy. And also, there's D. Hey, D. That is all I'm doing. I'm turning it over to you guys. So whoever wants to start, I'll let you start and let you go with it.
Okay, well, go ahead, Ryan.
Oh, no, I was going to give it to you.
Oh, okay. Well, if you were at CacheFest, you heard the fantastic announcement that CacheFest is moving. We are going to Oklahoma. We are going to Norman, Oklahoma, to be specific. And we announced that we would be going July 27th of 2024. And then a few things popped up. And we know that there are cachers of all kinds, and we all have our favorite mega events. And there was a little bit of a confusion because there was going to be 2 megas on the same day. And number one, we don't ever want to make people choose because we think you should be able to attend every mega if you want to. So we made the decision that we are going to move CacheFest Oklahoma to the date of July 6th.
Woohoo!
It's still going to be in Norman, Oklahoma. We're still going to have a caching day in OKC. We still have lots of super things planned. We are watching our email very closely. It has not yet published, but we're hoping for it to publish here as soon as possible. And we will get the GC code to y'all as soon as it publishes so we can start marking our will attends. Everything is going to stay the same that we talked about in Memphis. We are still going to be at the Embassy Suites in Norman. The event will not only take place at the Embassy Suites, we will stay at the Embassy Suites as the host hotel. They have given us a really good rate for a 2-room suite for $149. That includes breakfast, fully fresh cooked, and a cocktail reception every evening for 2 hours where you can get a beer, a glass of wine, a soda, whiskey, whatever you want, and some light hors d'oeuvres. But the cool thing is that if, as you're, throughout the day on Saturday, if you get tired and, you've got an hour between the Challenge Academy and the Gadget Academy, well, you can go up to your room and put your feet up for an hour or so and then come back down. It'll all be in the same building. which we're super excited about. But even more, we're excited about being in Norman. They are rolling out the red carpet for us. I'm super excited to work with Taylor now that we're going to be there around the 4th of July, hoping to set up some maybe 4th of July activities for folks, things like that. So we're super excited, but we wanted to get the date change out there so you didn't have to flip a coin and decide where you were going. You could do both if you wanted to. So CacheFest, Oklahoma, Norman, Oklahoma, July 6th, 2024.
Yeah, a couple things. I know, Ryan, I know you got some thoughts and comments too. I just want to make one comment, and then I'm going to turn it over to you. But this isn't your typical Embassy Suites, by the way.
No.
When I pulled up to this Embassy Suites, it's like, this is a ginormous Embassy Suites with a giant conference center. It's not your typical one. So it is I'm going to try to get a photo while Ryan, you're doing that. I want to get a photo of the front of it because it's really, and it's almost brand new. So I'm really excited. We got to go there, and it is spit and polish, a really, really cool one. So Ryan, I know you want to say a few things.
Oh, I'm just mostly excited. Like Dee said, the city of Norman has been great so far. And not just the city, but the cachers of Oklahoma. I know I have gotten messages after messages after messages from just cachers that I know that live in the area. And they're ready to roll out the red carpet as well with the caches in the area. Already talking about doing maintenance runs down there. I heard of a small geocache a lot of people want to go do Infernal Device. I know.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I can't
we'll
wait
have to
for
do
that
some.
one.
We'll do some help to organize that one.
So
yeah.
Let me also say that I know Ryan, I believe you're going to be there as well. I think Gary might. On August 12th, they're hosting an event. Oh, good. I'm glad we made your day. On August 12th, there's going to be what they call COG, which is Essential Oklahoma Geocachers. They're having an event. It's at Clark's Crew Barbecue, which is fantastic barbecue. I might say we ate there on our excursion to scope out the city. Brittany is going to be hosting that. And we're going to show up. Part of the CacheFest team is going to show up and kind of chat and figure out just kind of what Oklahoma wants to see in their CacheFest. So we're excited to be able to work with them. I know I've spoke with several of them, just like Ryan has. So I'm excited to go to that event. So if you're in Oklahoma, come to the COG event on the 12th. We'd love to see you.
Very cool. Yeah. I'm trying to find one that gives a really good feel for what the front of it. We don't have time for a lot, but here's one of the middle or the lobby area. So I'll show that real quick, and then we can move on. But yeah, a lot of people asking questions. We'll definitely try to get to that as time goes on. We won't have really time tonight to get into a full breakdown, but we will talk about it briefly. Here's some of the photos I want to show you guys. So it's got this really cool. There's the front of it, and then let me get to the lobby.
It's pretty nice.
Big pool.
Yeah.
There's the lobby. It's one of those giant. So.
And that rate is for run of the house, meaning if you want a king size bed and or if you want 2 beds and there's a little suite, so you got a couch and stuff in there. So lots of space and all that. And you can't beat free breakfast, cooked to order. I mean, that's just. They've got an omelet station. I think that's what made Ryan excited when he saw the omelet station. So,
well, that and a happy hour.
Yeah.
Oh man! And do they have pizza there too?
Here, right?
There is some good pizza in Norman.
Oh, there is.
Yes,
Okay.
there is.
Yeah,
Good to
my
know.
son used to be the editor of their local newspaper, so I've spent a little time there. And yes, there's a University of Oklahoma. Yes, you don't have to love the Sooners. trust me, I went to A&M. So, but yes, you can embrace the area. The people there are wonderful. There's so much to do. I know people go, "Oh, it's college town," but it's like, oh my gosh, it's just incredible. In fact, it being a college town though actually kind of benefits us because so many things are available in a town like that. So
Without the students.
Yeah.
That's the good thing about being 4th of July weekend is
yeah,
it's summertime.
we could enjoy Norma without the kids being there. Nothing against the
And
kids, but go ahead, Jesse.
the best steakhouse that I've ever been to in all
too.
the United States is very close.
Oklahoma City,
Cattleman
right?
Steakhouse.
Yes.
I would go just for another steak from there.
That's right outside the stockyards, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Like they're mooing and then they're on your plate, and it's awesome.
They're amazing.
They are.
Well, and several of us has picked up on it, but it seems like we're going with the Street Outlaws theme because we were in Memphis and now we're in OKC. So if you're a Street Outlaws fan, you can go to several of the guys' shops and get some cool merch while you're in town.
Yep,
but
absolutely.
I don't want to go into all the cool things. There's a soda pop place that we're going to go to that
yes.
literally has 20-foot ceilings filled with sodas in a bottle, and they make their own root beer, which makes my husband extremely happy. So we'll go into all the greatness of it. But as soon as it gets announced, please mark your Will-attends. And as soon as that link gets out, go ahead and book your room so that we can get everything lined up. But CacheFest, Oklahoma, July 6th, 2024.
Woohoo! Thank
Yay!
you guys so much for being on, and we'll catch up with you guys later. So,
all right.
you.
And on your subject tonight, rest in peace.
Oh, absolutely.
Mr. Owen,
yeah.
rest in peace.
Yeah.
So,
yes, very much.
see you guys later.
Thank you guys. Bye.
Take care, D. Take care, Ryan.
Okay. Very cool. Okay, so we're going to take another couple minutes, and then we want to get into the topic. So, just a couple quick notes. I think CacheFest Memphis went very well, in my opinion. I'll get you guys to give your couple cents, but the interactive adventure lab I had great fun with. John got to do it this time. I think that is something that, well, we know that it's become popular. We had our good friends from Going Caching, the Waysiders, were with us again. And one of the things I told them last year as we were talking was, I wasn't something I had to mention, but I wanted to talk to them because they're good friends. And I said, if you guys like this idea, run with it. And they're like, yes, we love it. We appreciate, your blessing of the interactive adventure lab. And so this time we did it on a riverboat, and things went really well. We won't get into, I think if you opened it before we left, I don't think we had any issues. I didn't open it early because I want to see what happened. Of course, we went outside the geofence. It was no big deal. Once we kind of back to the dock, you could reopen it and everything was fine. So not a huge deal. My last comment will be, though, that we were fortunate enough to have a couple great lackeys with us, and they are surprisingly, serendipitously, on the database side of things. And I had a long talk with them and said, maybe megas might need to be exempt from these geofences. And they go, Gary, you have a great idea. I'm taking it back to HQ. So now I'm not saying it's going to happen, but they got to see it, live. They got to see it, live and in person. And I could tell he was sincere, that he was like, yes, megas are a different breed of animal. It's not like a regular geocacher. So I have crossed my fingers and I have high hopes that we can do, and other megas too. I mean, I've talked to, K-Blast was with us, and he talked about Moga and a couple of things, and he had some ideas, but again, they can be kind of weird because of them being a mega. And so they're like, yeah, we could really benefit from that sometimes. So anyway, other than that, everything went fabulous. I'll let one of you guys tell a little about your experience.
I agree, Gary. I think, definitely one of the best parts for me, and I think you guys know I'm a social cacher. So one of my favorite things is just going out there, meeting with people, I haven't met before, talking with geo friends that I haven't seen in a long time. So for me, that was an absolute blast. And I know Retro Gaming Girls in the chat. It was great to meet her in person in here. Chandrum, great to see him again.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan, a whole bunch of others. I mean, to me, that was such the coolest thing. And the interactive adventure lab, I just had a blast on that one too. Going around the boat. I think a cool part was there were even people actually thanking us who weren't geocachers, who saw what we were doing and were like, "That's really cool,"
Yeah, it was funny too because we had K-Blast, but Brian was with us, and he had his guitar, and he just playing songs and stuff, and so it was he had kids coming up and strumming his guitar, and he was playing, he was playing with them, and and letting them. He was just doing the chords, and people were strumming along, and again, I think it went really well. I don't know if I don't think Emily and me fooled anybody on the who are the murderers in the murder mystery, but we attempted it. I kept pointing at John, and he kind of deflected all my accusations. So, but
you had a good setup there, Gary. But the truth prevailed in the end. I have to say.
That didn't work. So, but Jesse, you got to come in for the majority of the mega part, which was good. So, what are
although
some of
we
your
know
thoughts?
megas are a week long now, all megas are a week long. So I actually attended the mega part and then the Cedo the next day, but the mega so
she did
I hated hearing about all the cool stuff that y'all got to do all week because I was at work and last minute I didn't get to come in, but I got to drive in overnight, got there for the mega, and like all three of us are, but the best part was just getting to talk to everybody. And like you mentioned, Retro Gaming Gal, it was one of those, like, we've seen people for the last year or so, like in a little dot in the chat room, and we know the name, and we know, we kind of know their face, but it's like, and it was one of those weird things, like you feel like you know them, and then you're like, is that you? Like, have I been talking to you for a year? It's one of those things. You get to see people that you've seen their names everywhere. You feel like you know them really well, but you've never technically met them in person. And getting to meet a bunch of people and watching them have fun from, the work of you guys. Y'all did 99.9% of all the work on this mega. It wasn't me. I was in the middle of moving. But it was just awesome to see people, cachers, get together and have fun. And everybody had their own thing they were doing, which is funny. I'm going to go here, or some people would stay in the building all day long. Some people were walking around doing labs. Some people I heard somebody getting 5 states that day. I mean, there was tons of crazy stuff they were doing.
Yep. There
was people trying to do the challenge, how many cache types you can get in one day. And it's always neat to see all that. And then there was a kid that was there, and I don't know his name or his cache name or anything, but it was like he was brand new to geocaching. And he's from it's a town called Arlington, which is not really close to Memphis. It's, like 2 towns over or whatever. And he was so excited to come to the event. He was telling his mom about it, and his mom was like, I gotta go to work. I can't take you to this. So he's like, well, I'm just going to ride my bike, which he should not have done, by the way. That would have been a terrible idea. But he's a young kid. He didn't know. So she got the neighbor to bring him down, and the neighbor brought him down, and he was just having fun and checking it out. And like, he's starting off, doesn't know much about the game yet, and he goes to a mega, and he's like checking everything out. It's just cool to see people really excited like that. And personally, I got to come and hang out with my dad, and it was fun because my dad got to come last year, but it was really busy last year. There's a lot of stuff he was helping behind the scenes with some of the stuff. This year, because we came in so late, it was just that one day. And he was kind of getting everything that was going on. So it was kind of like seeing another cacher, but it's my dad. So he gets in there, he's loving it, having fun. And this year he wanted to know more about it. Like, what is everybody doing? And so I kind of went through everything and explained it. And he goes, oh, okay. Like, he didn't realize that the events count. He had never logged last year's mega. He hadn't really done any of that. He just found caches over the years.
Yeah.
So once he started getting, he was like, "Oh, take me to some more." So he started caching. He had about 40 on his account when the weekend started, and he texted me this morning. He's at 122, and he's just been
that's
going
awesome.
around going crazy.
That is
and
so cool.
Oh, like son, like father now.
We would
or
go
like,
by ones.
yeah.
He was like, "Hey, there's this one I tried this one day. Let's go check that one out. I had trouble with this one. Let's go do that one." So he's been going and having fun. And then like he only had like the free account, which I didn't even realize. I thought I had bought him the other account years ago.
Right.
And he was like, "There's not really many around there." I was like, "Let me see what you got there." I was like, "No, that's not gonna work." So you open up the premium account. He's like, "They're everywhere." I'm like,
yeah.
So he's been going crazy. He's tearing it up. It's funny.
That's awesome.
And
That's so cool.
He hadn't logged all this stuff, so he had like 4 states that he never really kind of logged. So he's got like 6 states already and over 100 caches. He's going crazy with it. But it's fun to see somebody get excited. So that's what I saw all day Saturday is people really getting recharged and getting excited. And I think that's really what megas are about, other than stats. You know, some people are coming in and they're hardcore, they're stat hounds, they're gonna kill it. But to see people go, oh, all these other people and how they play the game and really get excited, that's super fun to see. So, and I have to say one other thing.
Sure.
Because it just makes us laugh. It's going to make us laugh. I showed him one of every type, because there's one of every type in town. He goes, "Okay, I don't like those ones where you don't find anything. Take me back to one where you find something." He was talking about the labs. He goes, "Those aren't any fun." He goes, "I don't want to just go answer questions." He goes, "That's not geocaching." I was like, "Oh gosh, that's a big old discussion. You don't even know."
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, take me back to where we find something." But
Christy'd be happy to hear that, because Christy doesn't want to answer questions.
Him and other people just, you see the light go on and they're like, I found the part I like to do, and they're going to go do it and have fun with it. I think to me, that's the purpose of hosting these megas.
Yeah.
It's not just a different icon.
No, you're absolutely right. Last comment, and then we're going to start into talking about trail safety. I want to make one last note, which was I contacted St. Jude and I said, "Hey, can we have an employee come kind of do an opening convocation kind of thing?" And I contacted our wonderful Jillian, who is sort of our advisor at St. Jude. She goes, "Well, I could bring a patient family over there." I was like, patient family wins. They trump everything else. I mean, they're like, they win. So I was like, oh, absolutely. If they're willing to come talk to us, absolutely. So the morning of the event, we had a little microphone. I introduced Jillian, who's our good friend at St. Jude, and she introduced the patient family, and the mom did most of this. Mom did the speaking. The daughter sung the song about no chemo, because she got to have a no chemo party. But I'm standing up there because I did the interview. I did Jillian. I should have stepped way away, but I'm sort of off to the side. But I'm trying to keep it together because I'm like, I don't want anybody to look at me. I want them to focus on the family. But I'm like, keep it together, Gary. No crying right now. Cry later. Don't cry now, because her story was just so touching, and it was so wonderful to hear her speak about her daughter and her particular cancer. I think she said back in when they started St. Jude, the survival rate was 4%, and that particular leukemia, it's a particular type of leukemia, it's now up to 94% is what is the survival rate. It was amazing.
Oh my gosh.
And so I got to spend a couple minutes with them before, and it's like we had a bag to give to both the family and to Jillian, but it's like I'm grabbing whatever I can and giving it to that little girl. It really touched me. So like, here, take this. Here's a coin. Take it. I don't care. It's like, and I talked to Jillian today, and they said that they had a wonderful time. They were so thankful for the people there who like came in, and it was like perfect. I mean, they were like, there wasn't no, there, I mean, everybody was like rapt attention. It's like,
Mhm.
sometimes you can't get that when you get 30, 40 people together, you know, and everybody's excited about this event, but everybody was like really, really focusing on her. So, that was really cool. So, all right. Yes, she was. That little girl was
Yeah,
awesome. So,
definitely.
all right. So I talked to Patty today. Patty is um, the lady who lost her brother this past week, and so I told her, I said, "Is it okay with you if we do a show about trail safety?" And I told her, I said, I promised that we would really focus on trail safety, and we're not going to focus on or say really anything other than our heart goes out to her and her and his family, his son and daughter, and such a tragic moment. But we do not know all of the circumstances around what happened, so there's no reason to speculate. But we do know that all of us are out on the trail at times,
Mhm.
and we all have stories we're going to tell tonight, and we've got things that we all need to remember when we're out on the trail. So that's the focus tonight. So John's with us as well, and John, you're a frequent co-host here on Deep Dive, but why don't you tell folks a little bit about your background in this particular situation, because you actually have actual real world experience about trails. So take a
Yeah.
moment and tell people about your experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Gary. I think trail safety is such an important topic for us to discuss. Me personally, I'm a vice president of a trail organization in Chautauqua County, the westernmost county in Western New York. We have about 25 miles of trails out there, and always trail safety is something on our mind. We want people to be able to use trails. I mean, trails and geocaching are such a great thing. But, just to covering some points of, what should people do to prepare for getting out on the trail? What should people do when they get out on the trail? What people should do when they're on the trail? And then what should people do after they're on the trail too? One of the things from my perspective too, I've been in that position where I'm helping people that are in need on the trail, who have had a need. Also on the other end of the spectrum, and for people that have tuned in for a while, I've also been the person who's been in need of assistance on the trail as well too. For those that don't know, when I was out checking out a potential trail to extend our trail, I actually had an injury in the fall. I tore my ACL completely. I tore my patella. I tore my meniscus. It was a bucket handle tear, so it got pulled up into the joint. I bruised my tibia pretty good. So I was in a need as well too, where I required first aid at that time, urgent medical assistance. So, certainly from my perspective, it's something that I can see from multiple angles and something that's near and dear to my heart. Because I mean, certainly I want people to be able to go out on the trails, but to make sure that talking about trail safety is a good one, because in my instance where I got injured, luckily I was out with a group of people on that front,
Right.
including our former county warden on that side. And, with their help, I was able to get out. So that's something I definitely really appreciate on that front.
Yeah.
But for anybody that, oh, sorry, go ahead, Gary.
No, go ahead. Go for it.
Yeah,
You
but even
go.
for that one, I did have
Mhm.
to have pretty significant surgery afterwards, and I'm still going through
Yeah.
that recovery, and I still got probably 3 months, and then I'm back to 100% on that one. But on here, we know people of all different groups, all different ages, people, all different experiences want to use trails. And I think if anything, over
Right.
the past few years, people have seen even more of a need for that. But certainly kind of talking about those. And as we're talking about those, feel free to put comments in the chat as well too. We want to hear different people's questions, different people's experiences as well too.
Yep.
But one of the things we want to get into is what should you do to prepare for actually getting on the trail on that one?
Yeah.
Which is a good question.
Right. And we're going to do, actually, we're going to cover it from. I like the way you've set the notes up for tonight. We're going to talk about sort of before, during, and after, which I think is really important because we usually think before. We don't really think about all the other things. So, but I want to. I also want to have Jesse kind of comment on. You've got sort of unique experience. The fact that you've been on many trails. You've done a lot of stuff in the mountains, away from civilization, away from all sorts of that, but also the uniqueness of the fact that you have law enforcement experience. So there's been a series of trainings over the years that you've been involved with. Also, I think you completed, when you retired, you were a detective at the time, right?
No, not when I retired, I wasn't.
Oh, but you were a detective at one point.
Yeah, I was a detective
right?
for several years. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. But kind of tell people a little bit about fact that, kind of give some people a little bit of your background, and then we'll get into the actual notes there.
So I've been on both sides of it as well. So I worked with search dogs. I worked, missing persons cases. I've worked a lot of those things, and it can happen in many different ways really quickly. And even though, I know that, and I've gone through training to be prepared, and I've tried to be prepared as I can for situations like that. I've also been on the other side. I've sometimes, I'm not going to say you, but anybody else, but for me, sometimes, we go past what our ability is. And I had been out during a snowstorm in Colorado, climbing a mountain, hiking a mountain, in conditions I probably shouldn't have been. I try to do all the safety things that we're going to talk about tonight, and I'll talk about what I did for preparation at the same time. It still didn't go the way we thought. We were stuck on the mountain for quite a long time. We obviously it turned out okay, but family at home was calling the sheriff. They were starting to go down that route. Finally, we got down and got back in touch with them, but it went sideways so quick, which a lot of these situations do out in nature like that. I've also been out where we've had to call, and it doesn't have to be, a 14,000 foot mountain. It can be an area that's, you think, well, this is not that bad. Right. I'm not that far away from anything. And I went out with a buddy of mine. We were out, and we were hiking. We're doing this crazy multi-cache, and we're only probably 2 or 3 miles from civilization, but we're out hiking, and it took a lot longer than we thought. We ran out of water. We were getting in a bad way, no cell phone service. And finally, we got to an area where we could get cell phone, and we had to call somebody to pick us up at a total different location than where we left. But it just, once you're out of water, you're out of water, right? And we had a lot of water with us, but we anticipated probably a third of the time that we were going to be out there. Because you think you're going to be out there, just like on trail maps, you think you're going one way, you get there, there's down trees everywhere, and you have to go another way. Yeah. It adds to your time, or wildlife's there and you have to go another direction. And those basic safety things we're getting into tonight, it's you cannot judge anybody for things that happen, because I've got pretty good training. I know you do as well, John, but when you're out there, you have to be able, things happen really quickly. Storms come up that you didn't anticipate, time gets extended that you didn't think was going to happen. Or, I was on top of a mountain one time, and kind of like what happened to John, but mine didn't go that bad. It's the knee I did damage recently, but my knee went out. I could not walk. I was with Christy. She wasn't going to carry me down. That's not going to happen. But I'm feeling super good. And then 1 second later, it ended up being okay later. I got down the mountain, but you're super confident 1 second. And the next second, I was like, I may be stuck up here. Yeah. This may not happen. I may not be able to get down this mountain. And it's just one of those things. Like, I had all the gear, I had water. I could have stayed up there for a long time. I had food and water and everything else, but that quickly I've also been out, and you're out and cell phone's not working that great. You got maybe have your GPS. That's one of those old things that people used to use in the 50s to go geocaching. And you get turned around, and you can get turned around so fast out in the wilderness. Oh, yeah. If you get off trail, and I did a lot of off trail hiking. So when you're on the trail, but when you're out in some of the national forest areas, there are no trails. You're just, going across land, and quickly it can become a situation that you're like, this is different. and you start going, "Uh-oh, now I'm in trouble."
Yeah. Chandram's in our chat room. I talked to him before the show. He's been involved with a lot of search and rescue too. So thanks, Chandram, for being in the chat room tonight. I appreciate his comment. Complacency is super dangerous, and complacency is something that can really happen to any of us. So none of us are above this.
No.
We really can become complacent far too often, especially us that are experienced geocachers, because we sort of assume that we know all situations. And something that Jesse, you mentioned before, we won't be talking about tonight, but we are going to do on a future deep dive or geocache talk, where we talk about just safety in general, whether it be, if you're, in a downtown city and you're trying to geocache. So, but we'll get into that another night.
Yeah.
So basically, other than me just being the host tonight, is I am gonna tell a very shortened version of the story when I was a kid, which was I got lost. So we've all been, obviously no preparation, no nothing, but the thing that I found that happened is something that I've heard people talk about many, many times in my life now since, which was I immediately got in panic mode, because you get in there's that moment when you're like, okay, because up until this moment, you're like, okay, I know where everything is. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I really don't know where anything is now. I mean, there's that moment. So in panic, you start going in some direction that you think, okay, I know where. In your mind, you're like, I gotta go this way. Well, in my continued panic, I end up making a complete circle. And as a kid, I'm really freaking out because I did not know, but I at least had a sanity moment for a second. And I said, okay, I was fortunate in the fact that I knew where the sun was and I could see it going down, which is helpful because when it's straight overhead, you can't tell direction.
Right.
But I could tell which way was west. I mean, it was going down, which was also a panic moment because the sun's about to go down and I'm out in the middle of, But I was like, okay, I know I lived north of where I was. So I basically just kept the sun to my left and I just started walking. And sure enough, I was able to then sort of get refocused and find a road and get back home. But, getting in panic mode is something that, regardless of our experience, can happen to really any of us. So, tonight we're going to go through, John, you've got some incredible notes set together. They will be they'll be posted on geocaching, on geocachetalk.com. They're going to be in the show notes, but I'm going to put them also on the front page. I'm going to add a drop down for trail safety, and we'll include that on the webpage. But I guess let's just go through it, I guess, chronologically, and you two kind of walk us through the before, and then we'll just do before, during, and after, and we'll just go through it that way. So yes, we do have a giveaway. Thank you guys for reminding me. It's #safety tonight. So if you guys want to put that in, we'll do a drawing at the end of the show, and at that point I'll give you an idea of what all we have for that. So please put that in. I just pulled it up, so if you would, I apologize. It's been a busy few minutes trying to get prepared. So if everyone would, as John begins, would you put in #safety again for me? Again, thank you. I apologize. We have to do this a second time. But anyway, if you want to be part of the giveaway, #safety. So, John, start the process for us of what we need to do before we hit the road.
Definitely. So one of the things preparing for even getting out on the trail, so you're at home is packing your 10 essentials on here. The 10 essentials, you can search for the different 10 essentials out there. I'll put a link in the chat, and these will be up in our show notes as well too. But going through, what do you need out there? I'm a big fan, if you're out on the trail, if it's for a mile, if it's for a 2 mile, no matter what the distance is, you need to have a good pack. And that good pack, you need to have some common elements out there with you. Also, when you're on there, as part of the 10 essentials, appropriate footwear, and making sure you're doing that based upon terrain, weather, comfort to you as well too. So, not just flip flops or whatever you call them, but, actually good footwear. So those could be hiking boots, good shoes, etc., but matched up with that terrain and what you're doing and what kind of activity as well too. So certainly if somebody's out in cold conditions, maybe they want some waterproof, footwear on that side. Going through the 10 essentials as well, some sort of navigation, as geocachers, we have our phone, and that's good. But I mean, we should also have a paper map or an overall terrain map of an area too, indicating where things are going as well too. I think we probably have often found ourselves, when we're in a situation, when we're heading out to a trail, where we may even say, dang, we don't have cell phone reception here, and it catches us by surprise. Really, we should help, determine that in our planning process. Do we know we're going to an area where there's cell phone signal or not?
Right.
But also, when it comes to good planning procedures, it's like, plan that you may not have cell phone reception, or very little or no cell phone reception at times as well too. So that map can be very helpful on that side for you. I know a few people have identified previous on this one, water. Make sure you take plenty of water on that one. General guideline is at least half a liter per hour. Certainly if you're going to be in a more remote area as well too, further away from people, you may want to bring a water filter as well too. I know water filter, I've carried one in my bag when I'm on more of remote trails. It certainly helped me out in the past too, where you're going through water much quicker than expected. It's also one of those things that helps out others. I know I encountered somebody one time who was really dehydrated. He was just wearing a little hydration pack for doing some trail running. And he caught me and he said, I'm all out of water. Can you help me? And I said, absolutely. And I knew where there was a water source. I knew where there was a water filter. We were able to get there, get them there, get them rehydrated on that side too. So certainly if you're in that situation.
In today's world too, is that they're much better than they used to be, and they're much easier to carry now. There's a lot of them online that you can get. I don't know if you have a particular one that you prefer, John. We could put them in the show notes as well. But that is a technology that's really improved. So I think people are like, oh, I don't want to go through all carrying all that. It's like, no, it's real simple nowadays. You can carry something very, very, very much more compact than it used to be to carry something like that. So
and you can just put something in a Ziploc bag. I mean, Life Straw, other kind of filters as well too. Yeah, we can certainly bring those too. And I know one of those things, when I'm doing water and I'm kind of doing a hike on that one as well too. Sometimes, depending upon who I'm going with, and I think maybe what they'll do. Yep. So your mini filters, those are absolutely great. And a lot of people who hike the Appalachian Trail and others will definitely use Sawyer's or Life Straws.
Right.
But
very cool.
From my perspective, I may even bring an additional bottle of water, thinking okay, if somebody's out there and I'm sucking down water from one bottle, if I hand them another bottle, will they start, drinking that as well too?
Right.
So definitely that's a big critical one on that side. Food, definitely making sure you bring plenty of that one as well too, both for yourself and others if they need it as well too. So making sure you bring some. I mean, even if you're thinking it's just a mile or two or a quick hike, pack some bars out there, something that can be shared with others as well there too. Certainly use that as a way to encourage others to eat or drink too. If you kind of get the sense where nobody is, but they should be, on that front.
Yeah, I really appreciate that your list. One of the things that I really appreciate about this list is that it's not just you. There's other people that are probably on the trail or with you.
Right. Absolutely.
That may not be right. That may not be prepared. The other thing too is I think we forget when it's cold. we kind of don't think about bringing water, but you can get dehydrated no matter what the temperature is. I mean,
Absolutely.
we forget that. So, all right, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. No, thank you, Gary, for mentioning those. And yeah, certainly one of those things, rain gear or dry fast layers, certainly if you're in somewhere, I mean, even heat or certain cold, make sure you have a wicking base layer on that side, something that will shed moisture very quickly. That's definitely good to bring. And I mean, even if you're laying her up, that good wicking underlayer is pretty important to have on that side. For safety items, I do encourage people to carry a flashlight. We all have our cell phone, but I mean, we should also have a good flashlight. I mean, certainly we're geocachers, so if we're going into a culvert, a tunnel somewhere on that front, even something like a headlamp's very good to have on that front too. I know I always pack one in my geopack to have on that side. But certainly, on there too, another good safety items is even like a whistle if you do need to call for assistance on that side.
Absolutely.
A whistle's a very good way to do that. And certainly having some way to start fire if you do need to stay in the woods overnight on that side too is always good to have.
Which is easy to carry nowadays. Again,
Yeah,
not
super lightweight.
It's lightweight. It used to be not, but now you can carry it in one little pack where you can have the stick and the striker all in one little compact item. So yeah, whistle. The emergency whistles are important. I mean, I think you said, and I know both you guys have been in situations where it's a little bit of emergency, but when you finally kind of got through it all, you realize that the person was like, it was like less than half a mile or something, or they can be pretty close. They don't realize they're close to somebody else, but like somebody mentioned, if you have a whistle, that can definitely carry in that process, especially if you can't get up. Then you would need a whistle or something, because your yelling will be important, but you can blow a whistle for quite a while. So, and like in your case, well, both y'all's cases, you both were down. So it didn't matter, for example, if you were a quarter mile, a half a mile, you're not able to move. And so again, that's where something like that really comes into to become an important.
Yeah. And
item.
One of the things we get, I mean, if it's an emergency, it doesn't matter how far somebody is if you're not in contact with them, right? You're out there on your own until you're not. And we get kind of complacent with things because we think, well, I've got my phone. But if your phone is your communication device, it's your navigation, it's your flashlight, it's, so many other things we use our phones for, and your phone becomes out of commission, you just lost like 5 of your 10 resources that you need.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's not a good thing, and you got to think about, I've got my phone, I can do most of the stuff here, but what if I drop my phone? We all know we've done stupid things. I've dropped my phone several times. Luckily, I've broken some of them, but never been out of commission when I was on a trail. But if it goes out of commission, now what do? You can't have all your life safety tied up into one device. Yeah. Because it can either run dead, which happens, or you can drop and you can crack those things. If it's everything to you, your phone can't be everything. You need to have a backup plan. I know we have our phones on us, but we need to have a backup plan.
Yeah. Yeah. And Jen mentioned, and Jen, it was so good to spend time with you this past week. Had just a ball, a ball.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Brad and Jen are awesome.
She's a peach. So, she did mention about, important to know people were going. We're going to get to that. So stay tuned for that part of it. So we're going to get to that information here in a moment. So, so you guys keep going.
Yeah, and so some other 10 essentials, and we're not going to go into too much detail on all of them, but first aid kit, in my instance, having somebody after it helped me get up and standing, to wrap my knee and get it in place, that was big. That definitely saved me, and I know I've used a first aid kit many times out on the trail, not always for me, but many times for others as well too. So again, as Gary emphasized earlier, we're there to have a good time. We're also there to help other people with their safety as well too.
Absolutely. Quick note, thanks Scott for being along. He's got a whole other thing to deal with. He's in Australia, so there's a lot of things that could kill you down there.
Everything can kill you down there.
Everything kills you there. So you got to be careful of everything down there. But that doesn't mean you can't be complacent up here, because there's a lot of places up in the in the northern hemisphere that can kill you as well. So, all right.
Yeah, absolutely. And no matter where you are, I mean, the 10 essentials is a good one. Knife or multi-tool, sun protection, which of course, sunscreen, sunglasses, clothing.
Absolutely.
One shelter as well too. And you hear shelter and you think, I'm not going to bring a tent everywhere. Shelter doesn't always mean bringing a tent, but something that can help you. It can be an emergency blanket, like one of those space blankets I tend to have, and it's just really tiny, like an emergency bivvy for 2 people, that if I needed, and if I was in a cold weather situation, I could, get in there and warm myself up pretty quick on that front.
That's cool. Yeah, I forget about those. Because you can make them. You can carry something like that very, very small and portable. Yeah.
Yeah. And nowadays with all this stuff too, with ultralight backpacking, I mean, these are things that are very portable, very small, that can go into a bag as well too.
Right.
So when you're mentioning these things, don't discount them and thinking like, hey, I'm not a backpacker. I'm not going to carry this big pack on me. I mean, in all honesty, I mean, most of these things, if not all of them, you could actually put in a small shopping bag,
Right.
Something that size. And, these things don't really cost a lot of money, but I mean, they're a good investment and can certainly save you, for sure on that front.
I think it's good too. You mentioned it, but I think it's good. I was trying to grab, I have 2 different bags. I don't have my other one with me, but I got a really small bag for small situations, and I have a bigger bag for when I'm out, when I know I'm going to be out further. So, plan accordingly to where you're going. But I'm like, on this bag, I keep extra carabiners. I've got, I got a tick key,
That
and
is
I
good to
also
have.
I also have my whistle. So there's my one. I got a flashlight. Where's my key? It's on here. Where did I put it? Oh well, I think it's down in here. Anyway, you get the idea.
That's a perfect.
So like you said, it's just maybe you do need to, and you could transfer stuff from one to the other, but I think it's kind of like, think through all your different situations of possibles. So
yeah, I would add to that 2 things. The 10 essentials, obviously, that's just good wisdom. But if you have the ability, a partner, that's always a good thing to have, and a plan. So if you have a partner and a plan, you're steps ahead of most people. And you can't always have somebody with you, right? But if you can, obviously, it's always better to have somebody with you. But we're going to be solo hiking a lot out there too. But have a plan. So whether it's a second person and y'all plan together, or it's just you, having a plan forestalls that terror and that fear, right? You think through it ahead of time. You have an idea of what you're going to do if X happens or Y happens or whatever. And then if it ever does, you have at least a couple ideas that you can try when they do, right? If you wait until something bad happens to try to figure out a plan, then that's where that anxiety ramps up really quickly. That panic sets in really quickly. And I don't mean you have to go on like Bear Grylls survival training to try to go for a geocache, right? But have an idea of like, if this were to happen, what do I think I would do? If you think through those things ahead of time, it helps you. That doesn't mean it's going to work, right? Not everything works, but at least if you have an idea, then you have something to kind of slow down that, I'm out of options. Well, you're not.
Yeah.
You're not out of options. And a lot of times when we get in those panic modes, it's because we think we don't have options at that point. Yeah. So I would always say, and especially if you hike with a group regularly, know what y'all would do. Talk about that. It didn't have to be doom and gloom, right? But what happens if this happens? What we do, and know that the capabilities of the people that are with you. If you're by yourself, know your own capabilities. Right. And we're all guilty of being overconfident.
Yeah.
But just try to plan ahead, and that will help you calm yourself a little bit when an emergency does happen.
Yeah. And I like how you bring up capabilities, Jesse, because I mean, that's an important one, because if you're going out, everybody has different experiences. To somebody, a mile hike may be big. Somebody else, a 2-mile hike may be big. Don't hesitate to talk to people. What kind of hike are you comfortable with? Is it like flat terrain? Is it a little bit, more like terrain 2, terrain 3, out there? But what's a long hike to them as well, too? For some people, a lot of the hiking or getting on trails is very mental, where 3 miles could seem very long to somebody onto that one. So I encourage people, people to have those conversations with who's in their hiking group on that one, to make sure what you're doing out on the trail is a good experience for others. And if you're thinking about pushing past maybe those comfort points or what people may know, voicing those up front, but certainly at that time also voicing to people, there's nothing wrong with a DNF. There's nothing wrong with if we're out here and we all had back on that side too.
Yeah.
Because I mean, for a lot of people, getting outdoors can be a very cool thing. And I know for Jesse and I, like trail caching, some of our favorite caching.
Oh yeah.
But you got to make sure it's good with that group of other people.
Yeah.
And I like one thing, Jesse, you brought up too, and I know a couple people brought up in the chat, solo caching on a trail versus group caching on there as well too. I know, I think it was Shandrum that mentioned in here earlier, is like a Garmin InReach Mini, and this kind of gets back to that communication plan, and everybody should have that communication plan with how you're communicating.
Yeah, let's get into that, because I think that we have some different things in the show notes, but let's transition to, because we go on and on about what you could bring, which is good.
Absolutely.
And I like your 10 essential, and we added more in there, so definitely check the notes out later. But let's talk a little bit about what easily we can do from a communication perspective. And so many times we don't do it, and we just don't. So tell people about some ideas and some things we can do on the communication side.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start, and I'll certainly look for Jesse for his thoughts on this one too. But my thought is, like, for me, for getting out on the trails, I want to be consistent with how I'm communicating, both where I'm going, who I'm communicating with on that side, when I'm going to communicate with them, when can they expect, if they don't hear from me, to then be concerned on that side. In my Garmin InReach Mini, I use 3 preset messages out there. I use one that I arrived on the site for the trail. That message goes to a group of 4 different people, including some of my friends locally, but also my sister who does not live locally, and my sister who I do not hike with on that side.
Right.
So I'm guaranteed somebody's going to get that message who I'm not going to be out on the trail with at any one point on that side. But I always send that message from my InReach when I get on site, so they know where I parked, where I am on that side. My other preset message I use is just, hey, I'm still on the trail. Just wanted to let you know where I am, kind of thing. And I may mark that maybe based upon rough terrain on that side. Maybe if it's a situation where it could, and Zolio's a good option too. There's plenty. But maybe when it makes sense to let somebody know where I'm at. Am I doing like a water crossing? Is there something that maybe is a little bit hazardous on that side too? So I'll tend to send a few of those along the way as well too. My other preset message I use on that side is when I'm back at the car, letting people know I got back to the car okay on that front. So for me, when I'm doing hiking, I want to be very methodical, very consistent on this front, because if you're very consistent, you communicate with people, this is why I'm doing it, this is why I'm reaching out to you. They know if they don't get those communications, on time, that they then know that something is wrong, at that time. So I think it's good for everybody to have that communication plan, to consistently do it. Let those people know who you're communicating with, why you're doing that, and what their role is if something doesn't happen. From different ones like the Zolio and certain the Garmin too, like the InReach, you can actually share your tracks as well too, where it will constantly upload a path and you can see it on a map too.
Oh, very cool.
So that's a very cool thing to do. And again, maybe you should do that if you're out on a longer hike or more of a remote area as well on that side too. One other thing on the Garmin, it does actually have an SOS button too that you can use if there is an emergency on that side.
Now, how does that work? I mean, do you know what does that function do? I mean, obviously, it's emergency, but I mean, do you know what it goes to, or? Go ahead.
Yeah, you subscribe to a service, and it actually the button. Yeah, my camera kind of has.
It's okay. Yeah, you got the blur going.
But
That's
you
okay.
actually like pull the button back, and then you can press it inside.
Right.
But that goes
So
to
you,
an
so
emergency
you don't accidentally
service.
bump it.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
But that goes to an emergency service that you subscribe from, putting in your information on that side. And somebody earlier put your medical information, sharing those. So certainly you can put your medical information in there as well too.
Mm-hmm.
But that may be an also good thing to communicate with others and to have in writing as well too. But Jesse, how do you feel on your communications?
So, what I was going to say is, because we could talk about this one small topic, one small part of the topic all night long. I want to make sure we get it in, but the way I see it, there's kind of two. I have the inReach as well. As a matter of fact, coincidentally, I got it the week after I got stuck on the mountain. I don't know how that happened, but it was a gift that came to me right after I got stuck on the mountain and nobody could find me.
What a surprise!
Yeah, what a surprise, right? But there's kind of two categories of communication we're talking about tonight, and we could talk about the different brands and different programs all night long. But there's the satellite option for when there's not going to be cell service, and then there's a myriad of options for if you do have cell service or your urban caching or whatever else, right? So there's really two categories. The one, like he just showed, the inReach, and there's tons of them. All the GPS, you can buy. We could list those all night long, right? And they generally work the same way. They have pre-programmed signals, messages, and they have their satellite signal. Don't ask me how that works. It just does. It's magic. There's things in the sky. But and then they usually have an SOS button or some kind of emergency button that if you hit that, it means come get me, right?
Yeah.
Come get me. Here's where I am. And, a lot of them have a lot of cool features. And it's worth it. Like, if you're going to go out, if you're going to be outside of the city and on trails at all, I don't even remember what it cost. Well, I didn't buy it. It was gifted to me angrily after I freaked out the whole family. But I know they're not that expensive for the stuff that we do. They're not that expensive, but I think it's worth it. It's a good investment.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then there's the other side, which we're going to mention tonight too, but which I use a lot more now than in Colorado. I definitely had the inReach all the time in Colorado. Now I'm doing a lot more urban caching, and I use the cell phone side of it, which we're going to talk about a couple of those too. But we think, oh, it's fine. Well, it's fine until it's not fine, and you can't go backwards and go, I should have had that with me. Well,
should have.
Too late now, right?
Yeah.
So, and we've all, if you've been caching enough or you've been outdoors enough, you've been in situations that either have gone bad or are going bad, and they go bad quickly. But we're going to mention a couple of them tonight. But somebody just said Life 360. There's
that's on the list.
iPhone has one built in. The Find My Family or whatever.
Yep, there's that one.
And then those other phones, the non-iPhones, the non-Apple phones, whatever those are called, they have ones too. No, I don't want to get that stirred up.
Yeah.
But
we got a full list, or not full. We added some. Yeah.
There's tons of those applications, and I've been in situations, and I know people have been in situations where you want somebody, and I've been on both sides of it, right? Where is this person, or I'm the person that people are looking for, and you can't stress enough the peace of mind it gives to everybody else when you're doing it, right? So it's worth doing that, and I do the same thing you do, John. Used to it in Colorado, and now even when I'm out going, if I'm getting out of the car for even more than a couple of minutes, or I'm getting in a weird situation, I'll call Christy and be like, getting on the trail, getting off the trail, even if it's right in town, get off the trail, back in my car, I'm done, I'm leaving. And it takes no time,
No,
and
but
if I'm
invaluable.
in a weird situation, I'll shoot a picture out too. I'll be like, here's where I am, and it gives everybody peace of mind, and it's just built in safety. And what's the worst it can do? You never have an emergency, and then everybody still feels good about it. Right. So it's worth the effort and time to do those things, I think.
Yeah. Tom mentioned, he says he found Tennessee's oldest by himself. People knew it when he left the hotel, when he parked, when he found the cache, when he got back to the car, back to the hotel. So it's just, again, but any point along there, he had not communicated. I'm not thinking about we don't always think a bad thing, but as somebody said earlier, you hope for the best and plan for the worst. But any of those spots along that thing, we would have known something about Tom. So if he communicated, he'd found the cache, and then we lost, and then we didn't know where he was, we go, well, we know at least he got to the cache because he says he got to the cache,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't know. But we don't know if he got back to the car, or let's say that he got back to the car, but he didn't. There's nothing after that. To the people he was connected to for this, you're like, okay, well, he got to the car, but he's somewhere between the car and the hotel. I mean, very simple stuff. It's logical. It's all the duh kind of thing, but how critical that can be when we're in an emergency situation.
Well, and here's the thing too,
wrong.
Everybody's thinking of the worst case scenario when we're talking about this and thinking, well, I'm never in areas like that, like bears, rattlesnakes, mountain lion, things like that, which I've seen on hikes, all those myself.
Me too. Absolutely.
Coyote, everything. It's not only that, right? It's not just when you're on that hard trail. It's all the time in geocaching. It's good to let people know when you're out, if you're by yourself, flat tires in an area with no cell service, car crash, bad people. It's good if you're going to be out doing something. It's good to let people know where you are, and it's not about being paranoid. It's just a safety net, right? You could be in even a city park or just out caching somewhere. Half of us wouldn't know a phone number if we didn't have our phone on us to save our life, to literally save our life.
Yeah,
we rely on these things for everything.
Yes,
well, they do break. They do fall down. They fall in gutters. They get wet, and if everything is tied into that, and you can't even know how to call anybody because you've lost your phone now. If somebody else gave you your phone, you wouldn't know how to call anybody. You wouldn't know how to do anything. You've got to think through those things as like a backup plan. Probably one of the important things to say is have a backup plan for a lot of this.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Mike brings up a good point. He says all the gadgets in the world aren't worth a darn if you don't know how to use them. So not only the things we talked about, but get out YouTube or get out Google or the instructions when you buy an InReach, and know how it works. How does the SOS work? John demonstrated how you take this part out. So you push the button. I mean, you got to know those kind of things before you get into it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
not going to help you
your
if
equipment.
you got to know, what these things do. Like Mike said, you need to know how they work, because you just can't buy it, throw it in the car and go, well, maybe someday if I ever need it. It's like you might, and then you better know how to work it. So
and these go for all things technology wise. I mean, first aid kits. I mean, pull these things open, go through them, take a look at what's in there, on that front as well too.
Well, not only that, I mean, the first aid kit is great. If you have one of those, that's great. If you have one of those and know how to use it, it's a lot better.
Absolutely.
So look in your first aid kit, know what you have. And, I know a lot of people are going to think it's kind of overkill with this, but John, I know you've had it and I've had it as part of my job. Gary, I don't think you've had it as part of your job before, but and not everybody works out in the field or whatever else, but it's worth. In most places, you can either get it for free or super cheap. Go get a first aid class and a CPR class.
Yep.
Right.
That's one of those things that let's say it costs you $40, right? That's $40 you never want to use.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
But if you didn't spend that $40, you're sure it's valuable then. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it may not even be, it may not be yourself. You may not be splitting your own leg. It may be the person next to you. Maybe your cacher buddy. It may be somebody on the trail, but it's just worth going and spending a Saturday morning and getting first aid training. And then you become the capable, not the person that needs help, and it's
absolutely,
it's worth it as geocachers. And, out of everybody that's out there and all the clueless people, we don't want to be the clueless people, right?
No.
I would love to go, somebody gets hurt on a trail. I hope there's a geocacher nearby because they all take first aid. They all take this stuff seriously. They're out all the time. We should be the ones that are able to help other people. And I know that's a whole other show we're not going to be able to get into, but, it's just, I would love for geocachers to be seen as, well, they're capable because they're out all the time. They can come help me. That's great.
Yes.
Great. There's a geocacher. Come help me.
Oh, I know.
Yep.
And I feel that, I mean, there's so many things. I mean, we could talk on this topic for such a long time, and it's so important. But the whole sense of helping others while out on the trail and being aware of others. I know if I'm out on the trail and I encounter people, sometimes my questions are, first introduce myself, ask them where they're going, on that front to get a sense if they're lost or not, get a sense of how they're doing, mentally as well too, physically onto that side as well too. But I know when a lot of situations have happened, geocachers love to ask other geocachers for help. They know where locations are. I remember hearing some geocacher lost her keys in the snow to her car. Who did she call? She called a nearby geocacher or messaged a nearby
Yeah.
geocacher who ended up picking her up, driving her almost an hour home, then come back and then, get that. And the fact is, a lot of geocachers are awesome and willing and able to help people out on that one.
Absolutely.
But, as a community, we have to think, how can we help each other?
Yeah.
From what I do as a trail community, how can we help other trail users, but also in the geocaching community, how can we help others as well too? So certainly I would encourage people to, to think about activities to help train if it's different events. I know, Brad and Jen brought up asking about a local library if they'll host a first aid class. I mean, that is a great one. I put out there, encouraging people to think, like, if people aren't comfortable going out on trails, people do group hikes, having a geocaching event that's a group hike, to get out there on a trail, to get people out on a trail, to talk about, being responsible with safety on the trail. These are good ideas, for sure, on those, because we can help each other out quite a bit.
So Nicole kind of hit on it too. What about a geocaching event to host a first aid training?
Yeah,
I think
that's
that would
perfect.
That's perfectly within the guidelines, and that's the only thing you really can't do is something that already you're bringing them in for that, and I guarantee you bring a group of people together like that. That's that many more capable people in your area.
Absolutely,
local geocachers, and I would love for that to catch on. Just think if people started doing that, bringing first aid CPR in, and your local fire department or whatever is usually they do it a lot. There's a lot of people that'll do it. You just added that many more people that are capable and can help others in your community, and they're the ones that are going to be out there, right?
Yeah.
They're not at home sitting on their couch. They're out in our game. Game board.
Yep. Well, we're going to get toward the end. We'll do our giveaway here in a moment, and I'll kind of give a brief possibilities of what you could win here in a couple of minutes. But before we get to that point, make sure and put in hashtag safety if you haven't done that already to be entered in, and we will spin the wheel here in a few minutes. So let's kind of get to the wrap up point. But what are some things that we need to do, or sometimes we even fail to do, in the after? So I'll mention one thing, and I'll let you guys kind of mention what you think of when you think about the after side of things. One of them for me is that you need to make sure that everything you brought is kind of put back and ready to go again. So I tend to scatter things all over the place. My first aid kit is actually over there. It's not in my bag, which is okay at the moment, but it's not okay if I'm going to take off and go somewhere. So that's something I want to remind everybody about, is when you get back home, maybe not immediately you won't have to get back home, but before you even think about going back out, take a moment, gather up everything that you had and you need in your pack, and you basically go back through and make sure that it's all ready to go again. So over to you guys.
Yeah, and I feel that's a great one, Gary. I know usually for me, after I get back, everything goes back into my bag, so if I grab it, that's the one I'm going. A few items I'd like to put out there is, if when you're logging your cache, you notice something like any sort of hazard information, other information people should know to provide a safe experience. Post it on your log, post it out there. If there's pictures on there too, let people know, what that trail is like when you're going out there. If you do have any things that you do notice on there, please reach out to the trail organization. If you notice some trail conditions or other things that need to be addressed. I noticed from our trail organization that people reach out to us and saying like, hey, there's a tree down here. There's something that needs to be talked about. We'll address it. And we want to hear those things. People shouldn't feel like, hey, I'm inconveniencing this group. We want to make the best trail experience there is for people out there. So certainly feel free to reach out to those.
Right.
and that does include if you're like on a hiking trail and there's ATVs or something, going fast or being unsafe, please let us know on that front. But one of the things too, and I'll say this and certainly then kind of like toss the baton to Jesse, but if there is something that you think does require law enforcement agency, like in our trail organization where human remains were found off the side of that trail, if somebody notices something suspicious, please let others know. It's good to put something out there and let people know. Even if you're thinking, this is probably not something, let people know on that front, because it's important those things do get notified, and people should not feel like they're inconveniencing either, like I said, the trail organization or law enforcement.
Yeah. I'm gonna go to Jess here in a second. One thing I want to do from the chat room, though, Jen mentioned this is important. If you are the safety contact, don't feel silly for acting on a fail to alert from your adventurers. So
absolutely,
that is key, because don't feel like no news is good news. No news is no news, which means you need news. So you need to, in a lovingly badgering way, you need to say, hey, where are you at? You didn't respond. Where are you at? What's going on? I would want that, that, oh man, I messed up. I should have let you know. I would prefer that than them going, he didn't say anything. I guess he's fine.
Yeah.
Right.
I would say, because y'all hit pretty much everything, the two things I would say for outside of the actual trail is maintain and train. So maintain your equipment. That headlamp is great, but if you haven't checked the batteries in it in 3 years, it didn't work anymore, it's no good. It's just a piece of plastic. Check all your equipment, make sure it's there. I had a trail pack that I used. It's set in a certain location, and it was the big trail pack. Not my little one in the car, my big trail pack, right? And I would take it all the time for all my hikes. I try to keep all my equipment good. At one point, and this is not a life or death situation, but it was, I went out on a trail. I was with myself. Well, I have a dog with me, but I was up on a mountain, and I was way far away. There was no quickly going back to my car. Somebody had removed my emergency toilet paper. I won't get into the details of what happened, but I lost a sock that day, and that is not fun.
That's not fun.
So check all your equipment. Don't just assume your equipment is in good working order and all still there, right?
Yeah.
You need to make sure that all of your stuff works all the time. You may have strike anywhere matches, and your bug spray may have leaked onto them, and now they no longer work. There's a lot of things that could happen. That's an understatement, Shannon. Train. It's always good to have some kind of level of first aid, CPR, wilderness training, hiking training, that kind of stuff, outdoor training. If you're going to be outdoors at all, and as a geocacher, you eventually will. Again, it's not a Bear Grylls where I'm telling you to drink your own fluids, without giving details on that. We're
you're not going to eat grubs out of a tree. Unless you have to.
Think first aid CPR is going to be good in a city park if something happens? It is. You don't have to be out in the wilderness to use it. And CPR, we probably have all seen it. I've seen it personally firsthand. CPR does save lives.
It does.
First aid does save lives. It can go really, just little bitty things can really save lives. So I would encourage you, and you're going to feel more confident, even if you're a solo cacher. You're like, well, I'll never save anybody because I'm by myself. It gives you more confidence in what you're doing and where you're able to go, and you're able to do things, and you can help somebody else. Yeah. Once again, you can't be overprepared, but you can be underprepared for sure.
That's for sure.
Maintain your equipment and just do a little training. It'll make you feel good. Plan ahead of time. Like, what do I do if I slip and I drop my phone? What do I do if I twist my ankle? What do I do if I run out of water? What do I do for those things? Do I have an idea of what I would do? Plans are great. They're not always perfect, but they're better than not having a plan.
Yep. Who knows where you are? Who knows?
Anywhere,
when's the last time you checked in? If you stop communicating for whatever reason, phone died, you're fine. But still, it becomes a situation. Well, if you don't communicate the steps, they don't know where to start, really. I mean, they kind of know, but That's why those frequent things are so important. Like Tom pointed out, it's like, leaving car, headed to cache, or, found this cache, or you sent photo, I was at this cache, whatever. And then give, even if you're going to change, if let's say you have communication, still working, if you're going to change your plan, let people know, I forgot there's a puzzle cache not too far from here. I'm going to go to that one. Give the GC code. Let your contact know that you're going off plan, or you're adding to your plan.
Mm-hmm.
You can't assume that they're going to somehow read your mind, that you decided that you're going to go to a different cache because you forgot that you'd solved this puzzle, and you're like, oh, I'm nearby, I'll just sort of hike over to that one. Well,
and we're all bad about that. All of us.
We've all done.
I know I've done so many times.
Yeah.
But so we just want everybody to be safe. We
most certainly do, and we need to all be reminded. And unfortunately, we have the terrible tragedy, and we want to honor that situation in a positive way, where we all think about this and we all plan well, and that's the key. So, all right, we're going to do our giveaway, #safety. While we're getting that pulled up and ready to go, get your last chance. Type in #safety. I'm going to go to you two guys, give a last final moment, and then I'm going to punch the button. We're going to get a winner, and we're going to wrap up tonight. So, final thoughts.
Yeah, thank you, Gary. Really appreciate the opportunity to talk tonight on trail safety. I mean, for somebody who loves the outdoors and definitely been on both sides of things, trail safety is key, and something that we all got to talk about, and definitely as a community, figure that out. What our approach is, how to plan for it. And, so many good comments in the chat room today, like, Chandrums, again, you can't be over prepared. You can be under prepared on that side. One of the things I want to put out there too, being involved in the trail organization, is I encourage geocachers to reach out to volunteer for trail organizations. They're great communities to be a part of. Out there can definitely help you with a lot of the outdoors experiences out there, but those are good as well too. But be prepared, and certainly any questions you have, feel free to reach out. I know we put a ton of comments in the show notes that we couldn't even get to everything on here. So, I do encourage people to check those out. And if they do feel there's things that we should add or questions, please feel free and let us know. I think this could be a great resource for a lot of geocachers.
Right. Very good. Jesse?
I would say, as we kind of talked about tonight, had a lot of stuff I wanted to say, but I would love for it to be in the future as we move forward. And I'm going to keep pushing this. I'm going to talk about trail, not just trail safety. That's what we're talking about tonight, but just general safety for geocachers. And in today's world, things happen all the time. I would love for it to become the reputation of geocachers that, whether it's in the city or whether it's on a trail, geocachers have the reputation for being like Boy Scouts, right? Always prepared, or whatever it is. I wasn't a Boy Scout.
Yeah.
But like, here's a geocacher. They're going to probably help. They're capable people because they literally go all over the world doing outdoor stuff. They're going to be helpful. That should be the norm, not the exception. That if a geocacher shows up, they can probably help the situation because they are outdoorsy people by the nature of our game. So
right.
I want to continue to push that. I want to talk about that more in the future. I just be that person that's helpful, and I would love for that to be, let's get rid of geocachers, the people that hide bombs under bridges, and geocachers are now the capable people. Let's make that our new reputation.
I love it.
I know it's still a hidden game, but whatever,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Very good point. Teresa, John will give you some more information about trail associations. I guess you could Google them, right? Just kind of.
Yeah. And most of the trails, being maintained out there for a lot of areas are being maintained by volunteers. volunteers, people who are not getting paid. They believe in the passion. They believe in the benefits of the trail. And yeah, Shandon wrote, there's a lot of Facebook pages out there. Start looking for your county and those trails. And you'll typically find out, if you have other activities. There's equestrians, people that maintain horse trails.
Right.
Mountain bikers that help to maintain mountain biking trails. There's a lot of different groups out there, but if you look into your county and look at the trails there, you'll probably be able to find a Facebook page or a website that has information. And yeah, I definitely encourage you to get involved. There are great groups to help out with that, that really offer a lot of good opportunities for people.
Awesome show tonight, guys. You guys nailed it, and we definitely I think have a lot of good information that we pass along. And again, it'll be available. It'll be on the website. At least it'll be in the show notes. And then look for it at the top of the Geocache Talk page. I'm going to add it there also. Maybe not tonight, but it'll be out there shortly. So there you go. So let me spin the wheel, and we'll get us a winner tonight. So round and round it goes. Where it stops, only StreamYard knows. Like I did that. Here we go. There's a winner. Up. It's Roy Baum. Winner.
Congratulations,
winner. Roy gets it tonight.
Geocoin dinner. No, there's not a Geocoin dinner, but there's items.
Dinner.
So geocaching dinner. Well, that's not on there either, but I still have a guitar. I've got bison. I don't know if you guys got to see the bison out in Memphis, but there's some bison coins. I got a couple of those left. And then I've got I still have a myriad of our old coins. I guess they're old now. But I've got I got the Geocache Talk, I've got Caching with Kids, I've got Gadget, and I've got the fairly new but now old Geocache Talk one. So
fairly new but now old. I like that.
Fairly new but now old.
Limited edition.
Limited edition, yeah. And then everyone wins. When they win, you get a path tag. So it's really cool. It's hard to kind of see, but when you get up close, you can see all the little intricate items along there. So it's really cool path tag. Trust me, you'll enjoy it when you get that. So Roy, get with me, sir. Send me a email to geocachetalk@gmail.com. I'll bring that up here. So send that, my friend, and we will get you set up with a coin of your choice. So there we go. All right. Thanks, guys. Again, great show. We will do something similar again in the future, where we talk about just geocaching safety in general, which I think Jesse is a really good idea. So that'll put that on the list for the future. So again, thanks everybody for joining. Hopefully everybody took something away from tonight that can help them stay safe. And we will see you guys next time. And this Sunday we'll have a Gadget Talk. So looking forward to that. And see you guys soon. Good night, everybody.
Okay. Take care, everybody.